Good day and welcome to the broadcast. Today in this video we are going to go from step one to the very end, which will be the cost of fixing a gravel driveway. I have decided to start this video from start to finish, that way I don't miss any steps that might be important to you guys. Let's get right into it. I am actually driving to this job. The last one I kind of did sight unseen. They sent me pictures and I did some guesswork and it turned out okay. But if the driveway is in an area that I am fairly unfamiliar with, I will definitely drive to see the project. Because one big factor in quoting a driveway is getting the equipment to the job. And the biggest factor is making the drive itself. How many hills do I have to pull? This is not light equipment. The tractor is probably over 10,000 pounds. The excavator, if needed, is over 20,000 pounds. Not to mention, the first thing I figure for is time. I will punch into the GPS from start to where I think the equipment's gonna be to the job site. And what I will usually do for every hour of GPS travel time, I will go ahead and add 15 minutes to 30 minutes, somewhere in there, additional driving time, because hauling equipment is not near as fast as driving a car. Now the drive itself, what I'm paying attention to is how curvy are the roads, what's the average speed limits, changes in elevation, whether I'm going up or down. And you also have to think, how much is it going to cost me once the job is done to haul this same path back to get the equipment back to the yard? Depending on just how hard of a pull I'm going to have getting to and from these job sites, I figure between $150 to $200 per hour of hauling time. Alright, so we have arrived on site. I have my handy measuring wheel. Alrighty. We're just going to walk up to this driveway right quick and we're going to assess it 1 foot at a time with you guys so you can see what I'm looking for. Alright, so we're approaching the driveway and you can see that there's a sudden drop off here. What I will end up doing is putting about 8 tons of material from here just to there where the curve is about halfway through, and that way I've got enough material to build this up and slope it in nicely. We'll just walk on up through here without measuring and we'll just talk about what we're seeing. This driveway looks like it's tapers between 8 and 10 feet wide. It's not going to be a lot of grading. This just looks like it's got bare material, and you can see I'm going to have to cut this shoulder here a little bit to get that water to drain. The road is just in disrepair. It's had gravel on it before. Got this nice little creek over here to shed the water off to. It's very spongy where I'm walking, so I may need to widen it just a bit. Walk on up here. So I'm just going to have to measure this at a standard driveway length. I think I'll measure it for probably 12 feet for material. Got a spot here, obviously they want to have a turnaround. Oh boy, about slipped and busted my keister. So this driveway here is not very steep at all where it transitions up, but you can see we've got a little bit of snake trails where water has been washing this out. This is low in the middle, no crown, so we're gonna have to build this up into there. So now we will measure it on the way out. One thing you want to be sure to do, zero your wheel out. It sucks to walk a whole driveway and then not be sure if you did that and that your measurements are accurate. Boy, it's wet out here today. It's rainy, 43 degrees. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to measure straight out through here in one length. You'll see what I'm doing here in a minute. I want to slightly overlap. That way I make sure to measure every foot and we don't come up short So I've come past this little area. I'm gonna back up and I'm gonna wheel this straight back into the parking area. Wheel, and I'm gonna go a little bit past where they've been driving. And that way I know for sure that I figure enough. Boy, it's mushy, listen to that. Mushy. All right, now here at the corner where I stopped at, I'm gonna come back a couple of feet, start wheeling. I'm gonna go up in the grass because there's no need for me to walk, but you wanna make sure that your wheel is spinning and it's not sliding at all. Because if it gets hung up, you get a rock or some mud hung up in there, and it slides, you may not notice, and it's not counting all the feet. It's nice up here. I'd say they're remodeling every bit of that house, it looks like. New windows, new siding maybe. Really nice. This is about the driveway. That's what we're here for. All right, now the other thing is, it's not as big a deal if the curves are short, but if you're really wanting to be accurate, you go to the outside of the curves, because that's going to be a longer distance than cutting through the middle. I can kindly mentally add or subtract a little bit as I go. And see, we wouldn't have to do a lot. All it would take is somebody taking a shovel or a mattock and cutting this little trench here to drain this, and these sinkholes wouldn't be developing as badly. But yeah, this is a big drop off. That's gonna take some doing. So we're at 304 feet total driveway and turnaround spot. Let's drive back to civilization where I can map the distance to the quarry up here. Now, I mean, we're in the middle of nowhere. This is going to be definitely an expensive driveway to do just because of haul costs. Man, it's getting colder. Much colder. Now, this is just a side note. We are in the mountains of North Carolina, and it is currently winter time. So that means it's cool or cold and wet. And we're actually way up in the mountains up here today where it stays colder and it does snow more. Therefore, you have to keep in mind that there's a chance that even though I think this is a 2 to 3 day job between hauling equipment up, doing the job, getting equipment hauled back, there is a chance that you'll get equipment up here and it come a snowstorm. So you've got to either watch the weather and plan ahead, or build into your quote the fact that your machinery may be stuck here for a week, and during that week that it's stuck way up here, I'm not sure how far from home, at least an hour. It may be sunny and warm and perfect weather back down toward Black Mountain where we're from. In this case, what I do is I'll figure out my daily rate, and then I'll probably add a little bit in there just for kind of a convenience charge for this customer getting me up here and me committing however much time it's going to take, weather and all, for me to complete this job. As you get more and more experience, that will become easier. You'll be able to just think about it. You'll be able to think about how far from home am I? How big of a job is this? How big of a pain is it going to be? Or how much work is it going to be to get equipment to the job, haul materials to the job, get the job done, and potentially how long will I be sitting at home waiting on the weather to break an hour away at the job for me to be able to complete this job. There will always be unknowns, so don't stress yourself over unknowns. You can't control them, and the unknowns are things that will not benefit the customer, so you can't really charge a lot extra because it's almost not kind of fair to the customer, but it's also not fair to you. Life is not fair, but try to make lemonade out of lemons. If you are looking at starting an excavation, grading, land clearing, demolition business, be sure to click the subscribe button, because I will take you on quotes with me. I will teach you step by step how I quote each job, and especially driveways. Driveways is kind of a specialty, and it's a good entry-level type of job. And be sure to ding the bell so you get the notifications as soon as the video comes up. Pricing changes year to year. Quarry prices on materials change year to year, so you want to be sure to get the notifications as soon as possible. That way you are up to date as much as possible. Now let's go through the breakdown really quick. We measured off 304 feet. We're just going around to 300 feet to make this description as easy as possible. Now, given what I saw up there and walking it is super soft, there has been gravel on that road before, but clearly it was not thick enough, or it was let go long enough for dirt and mud to come up through it. But there is a hard base in there, so I don't feel like I've got to way overkill the amount of material that I bring in. Based on these factors, I feel like 24 tons of crusher run, or ABC, is a good number to estimate for. If I end up doing less, that's fine, saves the customer some money, but if I end up having to go that, at least I've got it quoted in. Therefore, you've got 300 feet, you want to do 24 tons per 100, so 3 times 24 is 72 tons. Now we've got a price sheet for you guys who are getting started in the business. You go to your local quarry and you go to the scale office and you ask them for a materials price sheet, and that's one of these, and they have listed over here all the types of stone that they have. This is your prices per ton, and usually at the top they'll have, like, this is 2020 customer price list. This price list is only good for 2020. All the quarries that I've dealt with go up on the price of materials January 1st of every year. This is the key to you being able to quote jobs without having to call the quarry every time, because you can't remember how much each ton of any given material is. So here we have ABC, which is crusher run, is a common term, is $14.50 per ton. For quoting purposes, I go ahead and round up to $15 per ton just to make it easy on ourselves. My math was right, and hopefully it is. I don't use a notepad, I use the notes in my phone on the calendar so I can keep track of all my notes for each customer, and I can refer back to the date that I visited the job site. Just a quick breakdown for you guys. I've got 304 feet. I have 24 tons at 24 tons per 100 feet, which is 72 tons. That total material cost is $1,080. So now we have our total materials. Doesn't include delivery yet, but this is total materials. Now for me, I figure my time separately for everything. What I've done here is I mapped just on GPS, not my drive I made today, but I just GPSed how far it was from my equipment yard up to the job site. It was 49-minute drive by GPS, which means it's 49-minute estimated drive by car. That was some really steep pulls, really hard pulls, very curvy, which wears on your brakes, chews up fuel, everything in a dump truck, trailer, hauling a big machine. I figured an hour and a half each way. That's increasing it by an hour, or by like 41 minutes or so per trip. Okay, almost doubling the time. I rounded it up, 3 hours round trip just for mobilizing equipment. I didn't figure in, and that gives some cushion too for load and unload time. You don't want to be working for free in any way. Now, let's figure our loads. I GPS the travel time from the job site to that quarry. Okay, it was a 24-minute one-way trip to the quarry. I estimated a round trip to take 1.5 hours. That adds a little bit of cushion for it being a slower trip. But also, if you get to the quarry and you have to sit there and wait in line or wait your turn to get loaded, you're kind of figuring getting paid time for that. Now, I figured 8 to 9 ton loads on my single axle, it's going to take me 12 hours of hauling. This is a day and a half of hauling on a single axle. Now, this opens up options to hauling, and I'll explain. I'm basing all these numbers on an $1,800 8-hour day of operating time. That's really expensive in my area. In general, I'm usually around $1,500 per day average, depending on all these factors that I'm talking about. And the biggest factor on this job, again, is travel. Hauling equipment, hauling the material in, hauling back home. It's going to be slow goes. It's going to be hard pulls. It's going to be a lot of wear on the equipment and me. I'm going to be exhausted at the end of the day, and I want to feel like I've gotten paid for that. Now, this is a really expensive project for me to be able to do traveling out of my location. If they can find somebody closer to them or somebody willing to do all this work and put this wear on their equipment for a less price, I'm happy for them. More power to the folks, really. I don't blame them. I'm not going to get mad if I don't get this bid. I enjoyed the trip up there. I enjoyed my day. But if I put in all this work, I'm going to get paid for it. I figured up my total time from the time I start loading equipment off the yard to go do this job, all the work that's put in, all the grading, loading out, and hauling the equipment back to the yard is a grand total of 17 hours of working time. So that total comes to, in this case and in 2020, these numbers are not good forever, but for 2020, right now, for my company to do this project, it's going to cost them $3,825 in labor, equipment, machinery, transport. All of that is built into my hourly charges. Now, there are a lot of people who would say I can totally beat that price, but if they don't figure it correctly, they're going to go in the hole very quickly. Now, you put these two numbers together, and it comes to a grand total of $4,905 that it's going to cost this customer to do this project by me. Now, especially you new guys who are getting into this business and you're adding these numbers up and you're putting them together, you may do a job similar to this that's close to you, and it don't cost $3,000 to do the same job. And you think you've done all this work, you've put this time into working this quote, and you think, man, I look back and I remember the job I looked at today, and it's the same as another job I did. Don't allow yourself to think, oh man, $4,900, that's way too much. I need to at least cut it down to halfway to the price that I did this other job. There's a huge difference in doing a job that's 10 minutes from your yard and 5 minutes from the quarry and a job like this. You cannot allow yourself to feel like the number that you've taken the time to estimate and put the numbers together and figure the mileage and your time. Don't sell yourself short because it doesn't seem like that number should be that high. That number is where it's at for a reason. Whether it's you've watched my videos and you're in a similar area, or you've gotten your numbers from other competitors or friends that are in the same business. Don't sell yourself short just because a number seems to you that it's too high. Because I don't know how many times that I've been in this situation and I have gotten these numbers that seem high, and I give them to the customer and they're great with it, and I go and I do the job and the job doesn't go that smoothly, and It takes me longer, just like the bamboo job I'm working on right now. It's taken me probably 4 days longer than I originally estimated for. I originally estimated like 2 days, and it's just not going as planned. I'm not going to get upset about it, but I am going to learn from it and plan for it in the future. So you guys afford yourself the opportunity to put your numbers together. Get everything in line, add those numbers up, come up with your grand total, write that contract up, and hopefully you win the bid. Thank you guys for watching. Hopefully this video helps somebody out there. Drop it in the comments, your thoughts, your questions, what I could have done to be more informative on this video. I wish you guys luck. I know getting started in excavation, grading, demolition, land clearing is difficult, especially for you guys who are self-teachers like I was. Just know that failure is the best teacher. So don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid to fail. You don't want to fail too much because then you'll go out of business. But take your failures and your mistakes in stride, and you can very, very likely be successful. I hope you guys are having a great day, and it's because of viewers like you that I'm having a great day. Thanks again. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.